Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is
This one might be the biggest so far of our careers. I'm Dana Perino, and this is America's Newsroom. We have many things to get you through. The stunning image seen around the world, the former president raising his fist in defiance after an assassin's bullet ripped through his ear during a rally in Pennsylvania.
So the sudden hail of gunfire killing one rally goer, two others still listed in critical condition at this hour. Those two victims remain in the hospital in Pennsylvania.
We are going to replay the video of the shooting for you in real time. So it runs about 2.5 minutes. Let's all watch it together.
A moment of history. We probably watched that 20 times between last night and today. And each time you watch it, you see something different, including this. A chilling photo from the New York Times as you see one of the assassin's bullet flying right past the former president's head. The gunfire mere centimeters from what would have been a fatal shot.
Doug Mills of the New York Times took that photograph, and we are hoping that he'll be able to join us tomorrow on his way here. He's taken many moments in time, and as Evan Vucci, who took the AP photograph, said, as a still photographer, you do not get a second chance at a photo like that. The FBI identifying the shooter as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. The Secret Service killed him shortly after he opened fire. Witnesses spotted him on a nearby roof, and it was roughly 150 yards from the former president's podium.
So as you can imagine, things evolving by the hour, sometimes by the minute. That's a live look at Bethel Park, PA, about 40 minutes away from the rally yesterday. That is where the shooter is from. Here's what we know. Authorities recovered an AR-style rifle from the scene. The FBI has raided his home in Bethel Park. Our cameras set up outside. We're watching for more action throughout the day today. How he managed to get so close is now the subject of a sprawling investigation. The Butler County DA says he did not have any criminal record. Selena Zito is reporting on the rally, a Secret Service agent shielding her on the right from the gunfire. We'll talk to Selena in a moment live. Right.
It's such a powerful image, and we can't wait to hear from her. We do have Team Fox coverage. David Spun is covering the investigation from Washington. But first, let's go to Alexis McAdams. She was there yesterday, and she's there on the scene in Butler, Pennsylvania today. Good morning, Alexis.
Dana, Bill, good morning. Yeah, we were up on that media stage, so pretty close to where the former president was speaking. It was a hot and a humid day here in the swing state as thousands of people waited in line to catch a glimpse of the former president. He was only up on that stage for a matter of minutes before he was nearly assassinated by a gunman who was up on a roof right at this building here behind me. And that was only about 2 football fields away from where the president was speaking. So a lot of questions again this morning as people all try to piece this together and exactly how this shooter was able to get so close to that Secret Service area that had been closed off for hours. So we're trying to figure that out. People, though, are still replaying what happened as we heard what sounded like fireworks. Pop, pop, pop. You saw the president go down behind that podium. And this is what people had to say. Watch.
There was maybe 6, 7 shots. And then looking up in the bleachers, there was a guy administering CPR. There's blood all over everybody around.
We heard something that sounded like a firecracker, and we turned around, and there was people behind us, and it was 2 of our guys, I think, in camo uniform shooting back.
I felt really scared for him at first, especially when he stood up and I saw the blood.
So the photo that you're looking at shows the gunman up on that nearby rooftop, which is now at the center of this ongoing investigation here. The FBI now identifying that gunman as Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. That's just about a 45-minute drive away from where this all happened. The shooter was up on that roof, I'm told, by the state police for a, quote, very short amount of time before he fired that weapon. The 20-year-old was a registered Republican, according to state voting records, which is new information rolling in this morning. So again, how close was Crooks able to get here? Well, he was up on that rooftop of that AGR building, which is a local business. That's about 200 yards or 2 football fields away from the stage where the former president was speaking. Then a U.S. Secret Service counter sniper took him out up on that rooftop, people screaming and shouting, trying to run for cover. Investigators haven't said yet what the motive was here for this shooter. Police are searching that gunman's house this morning. Take a look there on your screen. This is in Bethel Park. There were reports that neighbors were actually told to get out of the area during the search. We also know last night I went over to a nearby area, Bill and Dana, that there was a car parked nearby that couple sources say he might have been parked, the shooter might have parked nearby, like just on a street a couple blocks away, and then walked over. No word yet on exactly how he was able to just walk up onto that area and then get up onto that local business's rooftop. Sources telling me, though, that they're still looking into that. Again, though, this morning, Donald Trump saying it was God alone that prevented the unthinkable from happening. I mean, you could see how shaken up the crowd was, but it was amazing to watch him go down, come up with blood on his ear, and then put his fist up in the air and say, fight, fight, fight. You cover these rallies, you never know what's going to happen, but walking in, it seemed like an average Trump rally. So many people excited, and it ended in gunfire. It was a horrible, horrible day.
Extraordinary. Alexis, I don't know what your location is there, but if you can, and it's a big area, can you give us a sense of relativity from where you are, some sort of show and tell?
Yeah. So where I am is kind of parked because it's all closed off since it's still an active crime scene. But I'm going to have my photographer, Fetzer, kind of push in here a little bit because this is, Bill, that building that you're talking about, that we've seen on the map and how things are laid out. That's the AGR building. So that is the two-story structure that this gunman was able to get up on top. And then the former president was speaking just a short, walk away from there. 200, like we said, 2 football fields. So the fact that this was outside of the perimeter, fine, but people are still wondering today, like, how was anyone even able to get up on a rooftop around here? We saw the snipers throughout the day that were up there while Trump was speaking and before he was speaking, surveying the area. They checked everybody's bags and everything before they came in. But, you don't account for, people don't think about when Cummins driving here in this neighborhood, like we're at this Sheetz gas station, and then there's this farmland here, Dollar General, some housing. So there were areas that this guy could have basically just walked right through and entered through those fairgrounds. This is also kind of right where his motorcade, too, pulled up Trump.
And from that building, where was the stage yesterday?
About 200 yards, so it just a little bit past. So you can see the I don't know if you can see the crane at all, Bill. Okay. That's kind of where they had that American flag hanging there, but those were the cranes that were kind of putting that up and down. So it's just a short walk away. And hearing all these people saying that they possibly spotted that gunman walking through the buildings, tried to alert security. The police telling me yesterday that he was only up there for a short amount of time, but he was up there long enough to fire shots and nearly assassinate former President Trump. Bill.
Well done. Good work, Alexis. Talk to you a bit later. And again, last night in the thick of all of it. Thank you, Alexis McAdams there in Butler, PA.
Yeah.
And the FBI has taken the lead in the investigation of the assassination attempt on former President Trump. David Spund is live in Washington with the latest. Do we have any more information about the possible motive here?
We don't have anything officially, and we continue to press officials really multiple times an hour. Dana and Bill, Alexis McAdams is about the closest that you can get to this scene right now. It's still an active crime scene. The Bureau does not want people coming and going, tampering with any evidence in any way. Here in Washington, fingers are being pointed, and the top law enforcement agencies, the FBI and Secret Service, are asking tough questions of themselves this morning. And police continue to search the suspect's home and talk to family, friends, anyone who knew this guy. Authorities identified him, as we've been saying, that 20-year-old from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, shot to death by a Secret Service sniper. The motive, as I said, still not officially known. He was a 2022 graduate of Bethel Park High School. Agents swarmed his home earlier today. They're still there. He was not on the radar of police.
He wasn't somebody who had a criminal record, from what we understand.
Correct. That's
so
my
he wasn't on your radar.
No, he was not.
The FBI now in the lead of the investigation. I've been on the phone with sources this morning. FBI Director Chris Wray personally briefed President Biden and his national security team about what they know so far. Authorities are certain about 2 things, Dana. The first, this was an assassination attempt, full stop. Second, they believe this was a lone wolf attack. No one else is involved. They haven't seen any evidence of that. The question, though, how could the suspect armed with a gun on a roof get such a clear shot of the former president? This was outside the security perimeter, but still it was close enough. The spokesman for the Secret Service telling Fox News this morning it's not true that the agency refused to provide Trump's team with extra security. Anthony Guglielmi saying, quote, the assertion that a member of the former president's security team requested additional security resources that the U.S. Secret Service or the Department of Homeland Security rebuffed is absolutely false. In fact, recently, the U.S. Secret Service added protective resources and capabilities to the former president's security detail. The former president and the current president president are commonly subject to threats. The U.S. Secret Service takes threats seriously, and it takes actions based on those threats as warranted. Now, the FBI knows people have cell phone video. They may have even seen the shooter long before or shortly before the shooting. What was he doing in the moments leading up to it? Half an hour before the shooting. They're asking anyone with that information to call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Dana, Bill?
David Spun, thank you so much. And as we mentioned, Selena Zito, she is a nationally syndicated political reporter. She was covering the rally last night when the bullets broke out. She says she felt the bullets whiz right past her. And that's her right there on the ground being shielded by the Secret Service. She joins us now. What you might not realize from that photograph, and if you haven't read her amazing first-person account in the Free Press this morning, she was there with her daughter, who is a photographer, and her son-in-law as well. Selena, thank you for being with us today. You were there. You were supposed to be interviewing the president, and
yes,
shots rang out. And 6 minutes into this, you said in the piece this morning that I read that you're trained as a journalist to do a 360-degree view of and observe and see what is going on, but you don't always look for danger. I'm grateful you're okay and grateful that you're here with us today. Take us through what it was like in those moments.
So I talked to President Trump probably about 5 minutes before he went out into the stage. I was set to fly back to Bedminster with him and do a comprehensive interview, but he wanted to say hello right before the event. So I went into the holding room right behind the stage. We said hi. He talked a little bit about how excited he was to be in Pennsylvania. He was looking forward to the interview, asked how I was doing, your normal kind of chit chat that you have. Then I went out into the bumper. The bumper is sort of a well that goes around the stage with the president and separates you from the event attendees. And you're able to get really close, sort of intimate shots of the president, your feet, sometimes inches, depending on his movement from him. And we were there to take shots for our story, and then we were going to go off and then meet and go with him to Bedminster. I was to his, I never know what stage left and stage right is. I feel like it's the opposite of what you think it is. But I was about 3 feet away from him with my daughter and with my son-in-law, and when you just heard the pop, 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 and the president, you could see the just this sort of red streak on his face, but he didn't have a crumbling effect. They often say when people see a traumatic event that it goes in slow motion. They're absolutely right. And so I immediately saw the law enforcement surround him. They formed the protective shield around him. They took a protective stance, and they had him go down. He did not fall down, and then they made sure everything was all clear. I can hear everything. I can hear the president say, "I need my shoes. I need my shoe," and then the president stands and he says, "Fight, fight, fight." I think he actually said it more than 3 times. And he raises his fist, and I'm watching this. I'm right there. And what I thought in that moment it is that he was trying to, and I think presidents intuitively do this. He wanted people to know it's okay. We're okay. He wanted to project strength. Because in that moment, you don't want to feel as though your country is vulnerable. Your president isn't okay. And so I think he did a very effective job in that moment of doing that. The instincts kicked in, and he made sure to let people know that he was okay. That really struck me. Then they brought the president down, again in a protective stance. They're all around him. He goes past me. Someone is holding his hat, and it falls to the ground right beside me, and then they usher him into the motorcade. That wasn't a Secret Service gentleman. That was actually one of his campaign advance team members. And I will be forever grateful the sort of protection and worry that he felt. I mean, he was laying on top of me for a good 5 minutes.
Wow. Selena, it's a remarkable recall. And thank you for sharing that with us and with our viewers. We're looking at a photo of him underneath that podium that is iconic yet again. And just think about the series of images that were captured in that 2.5, 3 minute period. It's truly remarkable to see it now. You mentioned a little bit about what you heard. You wrote that you heard the bullets whiz by your head. Explain what that was. And I'd also like to know, were you around those who were critically injured or the one person was killed?
No, they were off. Yeah. And so the people that were killed were past the president. So I heard pop, pop, pop. Someone that's been around guns all my life. I knew exactly what the sound was. Sometimes people think it's fireworks, but I knew what the sound was. And then I knew the second set of shots were of a different caliber. You could tell that there was a difference. I'm not savvy enough to know to be able to say, oh, well, that was this and this was that. But I could tell that they were different. It was a different gun being used in the second round of shots.
Selena, a few years ago, you covered a Trump rally at this same location. You know Pennsylvania like the back of your hand. You grew up there. And at the time, you wrote that the people here, I guess this was 2016, take him seriously, not literally. And that's become kind of a theme as people try to understand the Trump presidency. So I just wanted to get your sense, maybe zoom out a little bit, about your sense of that moment and that day and what that meant to come back to Butler, Pennsylvania, where he has a stronghold of support in that county, and just talk about the people who were there. Like, it looked like a rock concert beforehand. I mean, there's so many people there. They're so excited. And in this moment, because you have such a way with words and a sense of what they are feeling, would love to get your take on that for everyone.
So it was held in a farm field. It's at the Farm Show Complex. Butler County is a great county for him to project who he's trying to reach, because it's a county that has both wealthy suburbs but it is outside the realms of Allegheny County, which is where Pittsburgh is. It also has 160,000 acres of farmland. It's also a working class area. There is a steel mill, a Cleveland Cliffs steel mill that is there. It's right across the state line from Ohio, from East Palestine, from Mahoning Valley. So there's a lot of sort of sense of, if you wanted to understand who was the coalition that supports Donald Trump, he picked a place that is both emotionally and politically very much reflective of the voters that would support him, a coalition of all different kinds of voters.
Selena, it is really good to hear from you today. Your story is very important. I apologize we don't have more time for it, but you're exactly right on that last point. You could draw a triangle between Butler, PA, Pittsburgh, and East Palestine, and it's all 45 minutes to an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And these are rural voters, and they're the backbone of his political movement going back to 2016. Yep. Selena, thank you. We look forward to seeing you in person very soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to the sprawling investigation right now. It is underway after that gunman tried to kill the former president. The attack sending shockwaves around the globe, as you can imagine. We are very early into this story. Stay with us. Developments as we get them all morning, afternoon, and evening long here on Fox. From him again today. He did speak with the president last night, President Trump, a few hours after the shooting. And Edward Lawrence, Fox Business, is live at the White House to bring us up to speed on what's happening there now and what may happen today. Edward? Good morning.
Exactly. And Bill, well, first of all, our thoughts and prayers with the person who died just watching President Trump's rally, the two that are critically injured. And our thoughts are with former President Trump, who was there trying to give his speech centimeters away, as you've pointed out earlier, from being killed by that bullet. Now, the president spoke to former President Trump late last night before coming early this morning to the White House. He came back to the White House and was briefed will be briefed in about 20 minutes or so, again, about this from law enforcement enforcement, as well as from the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. Now, no public comments on the president's schedule yet, but here's the Biden from yesterday.
Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
The Biden-Harris campaign sources tell Fox News the campaign moved to pause outbound communication and take down campaign ads labeling former President Trump as a dictator and a threat to freedom. The Vice President Kamala Harris in a statement says, violence such as this has no place in our nation. We must all condemn this abhorrent act and do our part to ensure that it does not lead to more violence. So that, again, nothing public on the president's schedule today so far. We'll have to see if that holds. Bill?
All right, Edward. Thank you. Edward Lawrence from the White House today. Thanks. Dana?
Fox has learned that the House Homeland Security Committee is expected to hold a hearing next week on the assassination attempt. It comes amid lots of questions for the Secret Service, and the FBI special agent in charge of the Pittsburgh field office was asked about the response last night.
Is this a failure of security?
Really, at this point, we're not going to make that assessment. A lot of things need to occur investigatively to make those determinations of what, if any, failures there were.
You can say if Secret Service had checked those buildings or were keeping a close eye or...
Really have to defer to Secret Service for those questions.
Why are there any Secret Service agents here right now for this press conference?
So Secret Service wasn't available for the press conference at this time.
There are many questions, and how was such a clear line of sight left unsecured? Tim Miller is a former Secret Service agent. Paul Morrow is a retired NYPD inspector and a Fox News contributor. Tim, let me start with you. Based on your experience and what you've been able to glean from what we have seen, what do you think the answer to that question is? How did they miss a shooter on a roof with a clear line of sight to the president?
Well, Dana, let me say on the front end, it was a clear miss. There's no way you can explain what happened. I've done hundreds of these site assessments. One of the primary things that you do, obviously, we learned from 1963 with the assassination of President Kennedy that high places are a problem. And so the fact that this roof was not covered, typically we will cover it for certain visually, but if not, in some cases, we'll post somebody there. So this is a big miss, and there are a lot of questions that need to be answered in regards to the site advance, in regards to the posting assignments, and especially in regards to actually what they did within the split seconds that an unidentified gunman was seen on the roof.
Yeah. This is a developing story, as our viewers clearly understand. And Paul, I want to get your comment on this moment, but Melania Trump has just put out a statement on X. It begins by saying, I'm thinking of you now, my fellow Americans, and it goes on for several paragraphs, so we'll try and get this to you. The winds of change have arrived, is what she says toward the end. For those of you who cry in support, I thank you. I commend those of you who have reached out beyond the political divide. Thank you for remembering that every single politician is a man or a woman with a loving family. That from Melania Trump right now. Paul, I'm going to play this clip. For viewers at home, they may have seen it if they're on social media. This was an interview that was conducted by the BBC moments after the shooting. It appears to be slightly outside the perimeter, and this gentleman says that he saw this man. It's only one interview. There are others, but let's play this clip, and I'll ask you about it next.
We noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle, absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on.
Well, he wasn't the only one, Paul. Here's what I don't understand. If you right now were to go to that podium where Trump was standing yesterday evening and to look out across that farm field, you would see in pure sight that building that was just a couple hundred yards away. And you'd have to ask yourself, am I vulnerable because of that building there?
Well, that's right. Look, the initial point of failure here occurred well before Donald Trump ever appeared at that lectern, and that's the site survey. Before you have an event like this, the service, that is the Secret Service, goes out, they do a site survey, multiple site surveys in many instances. They do it in conjunction with the state and locals in case they need extra resources. Here in New York City, they always had the benefit of the fact that the NYPD was very large. They have their own ESU team, SWAT teams, and so there are a lot of resources available to them, but they make the call as to what has to be covered because they're the experts. And then they have this layering where they funnel the crowd in from the outer perimeter. They set up a perimeter, but inside that perimeter, it's the service that has the ticket on the body, on the principal, and that's why they were right by Donald Trump, responded so quickly and heroically. Let's not forget that, threw their bodies in harm's way. But the outer area that had vantage to that lectern was not covered. There's just no way to sugarcoat that. And I have to segue not only into the investigation of the event, for things like, are we looking at the crime scene? Do all the bullets matched, let's say, the gun that we have recovered? You know, there are other things that are going to go on at the scene. But then also we need an investigation of what went on beforehand and what failed here. And I have to say, I'm gratified that we already have Congress talking about it because I think that the agents on the ground can handle it. But we're not hearing from the Secret Service, and this is the kind of vacuum that conspiracy theories grow in, and that's what we don't want. Yeah. We want facts and clarity.
That hearing will take place right now, a week from tomorrow, and it will be a public hearing in Capitol Hill. To both of you, Tim Miller, thank you. Paul Morrow, thank you for your input now. We got to get a quick break. More.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
There were about 15,000 rally-goers, and Timothy Ford was one of them. He was at the rally about 50 feet from the stage. If you're looking at the podium, Timothy would have been off to the left about 30 yards when he heard the gunfire and gathered the people who'd come with him, ran for cover. He's back in Pittsburgh, PA now, and he joins us. And Timothy, it is great to see you. Good morning.
Thank you.
Take our viewers
Thank
through.
You. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Take our viewers through your experience, Timothy.
So I went up with my brother and two of our friends, and I was right on the left side, as you said, all the way pushed up against the fence if you're looking at the stage. So I had a good view. I was probably, I don't know, like 30, 50 feet from the stage and only 50 yards, maybe 100 yards from the building. And I was just watching Trump like everyone else. I was enamored. I've never seen Trump in person before. I was just enjoying myself. And my brother got my attention. He said, look to your left. What's going on over there? And there was like a bunch of Secret Service agents running in an open field and people looking confused, right? But I said, oh, who cares? It's probably a drunk guy, whatever. And I looked back towards the stage and I saw the sniper on the barn scoping in. And from that point on, I knew there could be real danger if a shot was fired. And no more than a minute later, shots were fired. I hear a pop, pop, pop from my left. And then 2 seconds later, I hear the 50 cows on the roof start singing.
And then you took cover or you ran for cover?
Like I was so close and it was so loud. I kicked into a survival mode. I just tried to grab my two friends and my brother I was with, and I said, let's run. Like I started, everyone else hit the deck, and I was almost trampling over people. I was running so fast. Really
what was
scared.
it? Well, and then Selena Zito, who was a reporter we had earlier on, she said that in the aftermath, of course, we do hear the screaming in the video, but she said it was also just remarkable how the crowd reacted, that they were calm for the most part to try to get out of there. Was that your experience?
Yeah, almost like so surprised and so shocked that that happened and it was reality, and it happened so quick, like just 3 shots. But like what I was saying before, I saw for 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, like you were talking about in that BBC interview, there was 20 Secret Service agents running around like chickens with their heads cut off in that field. And you're telling me snipers on the barn can't see this guy 100 yards? Doesn't add up to me.
Yeah. Timothy, thank you for sharing your story.
Yes, your eyewitness account is important, and thank you for being here. I'm glad you're safe.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I want to bring in Fox News senior political analyst Brit Hume and Guy Benson, host of the Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio, and it's great to have you both here. Thank you so much. One of the things Bill Barr, the former attorney general, said is that the Democrats have to stop their grossly irresponsible talk about Trump being an existential threat to democracy. He is not. Obviously, the investigation is still ongoing. We don't know the motive yet. We don't have that information, Britt. But how do you think, if at all, the conversation changes now for the presidential election?
Well, I guess we can hope and pray for some relief from this poisonous political atmosphere which we've been living in now for quite some time. And, you know, we live it's kind of an age of exaggeration in which everything is pushed out to its possible outer limit. You know, nobody's dangerous; they're all Hitler. I mean, you see the New Republic, the left liberal political journal, has a Trump as Hitler drawing on its cover in the current issue. This is the kind of thing that's been going on for a long time. We can all hope that we can turn the temperature down, but the country is deeply divided. The passions are very intense, and
Chỉ mang 6 bánh. Bỏ cái tay cho móc vào trong móc thứ tư. Một mũi tiếp. Cho tôi mượn cái zip được không? Cái zip. Không có. Ấy là đem về camera rồi.
Ở đây, để mới đem về đây hả? Này vậy?
Mới đem về hôm bữa đây này.
Không còn cái này luôn hả?
Không.
Bữa thêm cả 2 cái rồi.
Không có, tôi đem về nên đó.
Đây gì vậy?
Quay phim. Để tôi mà đi cày.
something that said, take a look at what happened.
There were about 15,000 rally-goers, and Timothy Ford was one of them. He was at the rally about 50 feet from the stage. If you're looking at the podium, Timothy would have been off to the left about 30 yards when he heard the gunfire and gathered the people who'd come with him, ran for cover. He's back in Pittsburgh, PA now, and he joins us. And Timothy, it is great to see you. Good morning.
Thank you.
Take our viewers
Thank
through.
you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Take our viewers through your experience, Timothy.
So I went up with my brother and two of our friends, and I was right on the left side, as you said, all the way pushed up against the fence if you're looking at the stage. So I had a good view. I was probably, I don't know, like 30, 50 feet from the stage and only 50 yards, maybe 100 yards from the building. And I was just watching Trump like everyone else. I was enamored. I've never seen Trump in person before. I was just enjoying myself. And my brother got my attention. He said, look to your left. What's going on over there? And there was like a bunch of Secret Service agents running in an open field and people looking confused, right? But I said, oh, who cares? It's probably a drunk guy, whatever. And I looked back towards the stage and I saw the sniper on the barn scoping in. And from that point on, I knew there could be real danger if a shot was fired. And no more than a minute later, shots were fired. I hear a pop, pop, pop from my left. And then 2 seconds later, I hear the 50 cows on the roof start singing.
And then you took cover or you ran for cover?
Like I was so close and it was so loud. I kicked into a survival mode. I just tried to grab my two friends and my brother I was with, and I said, let's run. Like I started, everyone else hit the deck, and I was almost trampling over people. I was running so fast. Really
what was
scared.
it? Well, and then Selena Zito, who was a reporter we had earlier on, she said that in the aftermath, of course, we do hear the screaming in the video, but she said it was also just remarkable how the crowd reacted, that they were calm for the most part to try to get out of there. Was that your experience?
Yeah, almost like so surprised and so shocked that happened and it was reality, and it happened so quick, like just 3 shots. But like what I was saying before, I saw for 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, like you were talking about in that BBC interview, there was 20 Secret Service agents running around like chickens with their heads cut off in that field. And you're telling me snipers on the barn can't see this guy 100 yards? Doesn't add up to me.
Yeah. Timothy, thank you for sharing your story.
Yes, your eyewitness
Thank
account
you.
is important, and thank you for being here. I'm glad you're safe.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I want to bring in Fox News senior political analyst Brit Hume and Guy Benson, host of the Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio, and it's great to have you both here. Thank you so much. One of the things Bill Barr, the former attorney general, said is that the Democrats have to stop their grossly irresponsible talk about Trump being an existential threat to democracy. He is not. Obviously, the investigation is still ongoing. We don't know the motive yet. We don't have that information, Britt. But how do you think, if at all, the conversation changes now for the presidential election?
Well, I guess we can hope and pray for some relief from this poisonous political atmosphere which we've been living in now for quite some time. And, you know, we live kind of an age of exaggeration, in which everything is pushed out to its possible outer limit. You know, nobody's dangerous; they're all Hitler. I mean, you see the New Republic, the left liberal political journal, has a Trump as Hitler drawing on its cover in the current issue. This is the kind of thing that's been going on for a long time. We can all hope that we can turn the temperature down, but the country is deeply divided. The passions are very intense, and